They're all at an adoption center, but the blue and tan puppy instantly steals the spotlight. Luckily, a man notices him and takes him home as a gift for his daughters. The girls immediately name him Ball, after his breed, the Stamford Ball Terrier. Ball quickly becomes the heart of the household. From the girls to grandma, everyone adores him. But as they say, nothing lasts forever. 2 years later, we see adult Ball getting a little too friendly with grandma's leg. While it triggers his turbo mode, the elderly lady barely notices and gives him a solid kick. Later, as he searches for her glasses, he bumps into a tiny friend of his, causing grandma to scream in disgust. The family's dad storms in, furious, scolding Ball, and finally putting an end to his antics with grandma. Undeterred, Ball finds a way to entertain himself, sliding on ice cream, climbing into handbags, rummaging through fruit baskets, even splashing around under an umbrella. Anything is fair game for a little mischief. His attention shifts when he hears the sweet voice of his neighbor, Honey, the object of his affection. Ball tries to hide himself in a garden hose so he can keep talking to her, but of course the dad turns on the water. Honey approaches, noting how much attention Ball has been giving her, hinting it might be time to slow down. Ball tries to explain it's just a sensitive condition, triggered by old smells and other distractions. Basically a list of chaotic triggers he can't control. Then, switching topics, Honey shows off her modeling moves for an upcoming competition. Ball is less than impressed, thinking her routine is dull and monotonous. John explains that these shows are meant to identify the top dogs of a breed, basically the royal family of pooches. Ball, ever the jokester, adopts a posh British accent, calling himself Silo, a refined dog far above Honey, though maybe he could make an exception for her. Surprisingly, Honey plays along, teasing him, which makes Ball nervous. He's never gotten this far with her. Just in the nick of time, his humans call him for a walk, saving him from a situation he clearly isn't ready for. Outside, the neighborhood dogs all burst out at once, eager for their daily stroll and of course to take care of business. Among them is Rocco, a muscular, intimidating boxer whose nose only twitches at the scent of nylon or something gross. His buddy Paul arrives and they greet each other with over-the-top enthusiasm. Ball proudly tells Rocco about his progress with Honey, though Rocco's heard it all before. Rocco encourages Ball to just confess his feelings, but the thought makes him jittery. Meanwhile, they're joined by Fetch, a trendy dachshund wannabe influencer boasting 600 followers, and Lucky, a laid-back beagle gnawing on what he thinks is a protein bar, but it's actually cat poop. Ball protests, claiming humans are messing up the natural order. Waste feeds the earth, which grows grass for more waste. His friends are shocked, asking where he learned such wisdom. Ball proudly credits his fluffy, dangling muses, the source of his neighborhood dominance. He's the only dog not neutered, at least for now. Once in the park, the dogs go about their favorite activities, sniffing each other, marking their territory and chasing balls. When a lone ball is tossed, every dog goes wild, but Ball stays put, baffled by the obsession. Rocco, on the other hand, circles the ball with his paws, savoring the uncertainty of where it might roll next. At that moment, the pack notices Lauder, a Great Dane with a gloomy face and a little bell collar. And trust me, that's never a good sign. Even though Lauder insists he's fine, he suddenly breaks down in tears and admits something heartbreaking. His little buddies have been snipped. With shame, he explains that his family had thrown him a huge surprise party, giving him everything he wanted. Only now does he realize why. It was his last supper before surgery. And after that, well, life just isn't the same for a dog. Things get even worse when Sterling shows up. He's this smug, show dog type who struts around like he's better than everyone else. Sterling mocks Lauder, calling him a mutated mutt, now that he's been neutered. Sterling brags about being championship material, bred from perfect bloodlines. While Rock, another dog in the group, came from a junkyard. That insult lights a fire in Rock. He defends his mom, saying she gave birth to 15 puppies and did her best. Then Rock flips the script. If anyone can stand up to Sterling, it's him. Rock proudly embraces the fact that he eats scraps, rolls in grass, and doesn't care about being polished. In his eyes, that makes him a real dog. Unlike Sterling, who comes from generations of inbreeding. Before the fight escalates, the dogs get distracted by a rather awkward scene. Two pups in the park, getting a little too cozy.
Human style, baby.
The female warns her partner that everyone's staring, so he tries to cover her backside while they continue. The group feels uncomfortable, though Honey blurts out that humans are just as horny. She even admits that whenever her owners get frisky, she jumps on the bed to watch and ruin the moment. Later, Sir Tal greets a neighbor, clearly trying to rekindle an old fling. But of course, Sterling interrupts again, bragging that he'll soon win the upcoming dog show, meaning Honey might have to breed with him. Nobody's happy about that. Meanwhile, Honey confesses she prefers a more traditional approach to romance, unlike the human-style antics they just witnessed. But when Rock steps in behind her, Sterling laughs and mocks him for being with an older female. Honey surprisingly defends him, saying she does the same, she actually likes older partners. Eventually, the pack is called back home, except Sterling and Honey, who stay behind talking. Rock just watches quietly from the distance, not realizing Honey is secretly praising him. When Sterling asks why she even likes Rock, she says she could never fall for some bland, boring dog. She likes someone funny, weird, and full of personality. Sure, Rock's a little chubby, but in a cute way. Sterling, sick of hearing her gush, storms off. Honey keeps going, comparing Rock to a bag of potato chips. Not the healthiest choice, but way too irresistible to ignore. Still, she sighs, reminding herself she's a show dog while Rock is just the scrappy neighbor next door. Why would someone like him ever notice her? Back at home, Rock gets spoiled by his owners. They give him a massage, a steak, toss him a ball, and even let him play with the trash. To top it all off, they hand him a golden bowl of reddish-colored water. It instantly reminds him of Lauder's story, how at his farewell party, he drank a soda that knocked him out, and when he woke up, his manhood was gone. Even with that fear in the back of his mind, Rock can't resist lapping up a little of the drink. Luckily this time it's just soda. Still, he admits to his friends that it's only a matter of time before he loses his crown jewels too. Without them, he feels he'll turn into some kind of zombie dog, wandering the world just begging for affection. His words offend his buddies. After all, most of them have already been through it. Instead of apologizing, Duppy shouts that he'd rather have his soul ripped out than lose his little buddies down there. Without them, life just wouldn't be the same. Sunlight wouldn't shine as bright, bacon wouldn't taste as good, and his sweet honey would never look his way again. That's when FCH cuts in, suggesting maybe Honey could love him for who he is inside, not just for his manhood. But B isn't buying it. He thinks that's the dumbest thing he's ever heard. Fed up with his whining, his friends storm off, while Rocco scolds him for acting like one of those jerks who think they're better than everyone else just because they're still intact. Meanwhile, Paul notices Honey looking more beautiful than ever at the competition. He assumes she's heartbroken over her grandma's passing, only for Honey to clarify that her grandma is perfectly fine. Her sadness comes from something even worse, but before she can explain, her owners call her away. Once again, Paul is left all alone. Sinking into despair, he convinces himself that life is nothing but misery and punches to the gut. Even when his owner tries to cheer him up with a game of fetch, Paul just stares back with those sad puppy eyes, begging to be left alone. That's when he spots a tiny ant struggling to roll a giant ball of poop across the yard. Paul offers to help, but the ant proudly refuses. It can handle it on its own, and that sparks something inside him. If a tiny ant can take on something so huge, why can't he? Why should he let anyone take away what matters most? From that moment, Paul declares he has no owner anymore. He's a lone wolf, free to live life on his own terms. With dramatic determination, he charges the backyard fence, only to smash into it with a painful thud. Still, after some struggle, he finally makes it out and struts through the streets, mocking all the dogs wearing collars. Standing tall, he christens his left Pepper for being the spiciest, and his right, Napoleon, for being small but mighty. Together they head into the big city. But before long, Paul's stomach starts growling, leading him straight to a food festival where he goes on a wild feast. Unfortunately, he accidentally inhales a cloud of herbal smoke, sending him into a dazed daydream where he imagines confessing his love to Honey, only for things to take a weird, painful turn as he suddenly feels sharp bites down below. A swarm of rats is chomping at his privates. Screaming, Paul bolts back to the fair, only to find that even this place isn't safe anymore. And to make things worse, Pepper and Napoleon decide to ditch him for being a coward. Paul chases after them, only to find them in the claws of a stray cat. Of course, they weren't really his jewels at all, just a pair of tennis balls and a ball of yarn. The special smoke had him seeing things that weren't there. Angered by the interruption, the cat summons its gang to teach Paul a painful lesson. Terrified, Paul plays dead while the cats move in to claw up his face. But just before things get ugly, Rock and the rest of the pack leap in to rescue him, revealing they'd been following him all along. They couldn't just abandon a friend suffering from fever of the meltdown. Feeling ashamed, Paul apologizes for acting like a selfish jerk and admits he didn't appreciate their loyalty. Rocco knows the sight is impressive, but right now his only concern is getting away from that army of killer cats. The felines start meowing in unison, almost like some creepy chant, before charging at the dogs like wild beasts. Luckily, the pack manages to duck into an alley and hide in a pile of trash, only to be mocked by a tiny kitten tossing them the equivalent of a middle finger. Once the danger passes, Bull admits he'd rather head home, even if that means ending up in the slaughterhouse. Rocco tries to pump him up, telling him to fight for his freedom. In the middle of this pep talk, Loki blurts out something awkward about licking his own balls. After the weird looks from his friends, he quickly corrects himself, saying someone else should do it while they stick together. That night, the pack unleashes their chaos on the city, starting with a squirrel chase that ends in a fancy restaurant, where they horrify diners by ripping the squirrel's head off. Except, it wasn't a squirrel at all but a fox with fiery eyes. Loki, being the oddball he is, admits he actually enjoys the pain. Their wild adventure continues as they mark territory in a no dogs allowed zone and even free a poor pup who was being carried around like a fashion accessory by his owner. Tragically, the little guy gets hit by a car while trying to keep up with the pack. The price of freedom is cruel. His body lands on the windshield of Honey's owner's car, right as their dog Enal gathers the courage to confess his feelings to her. But the family floors the gas. They're running late for the big dog show. Crushed, Enal mutters to his buddies that the next time he sees his crush, he'll probably be neutered already. Suddenly, the group picks up a familiar scent, expensive shampoo, perfume, and humans with fancy manners. At the gates of the amphitheater, the pack disguises themselves as a single human to sneak into the event. By some miracle, Loki's bark even sounds like a casual hello in human language. Backstage, the dogs watch the show competitors, flawless pedigrees strutting, posing, and practicing their best barks, while the losers sulk and cry about not being good enough. Eno rushes to the stage thinking Honey's up next, but instead he has to watch Sterling get crowned champion yet again, with Razel taking best female of the show. Honey stands beside them as the crowd cheers like they're celebrities. Enal can't help but think a dog like her would never notice someone like him. On stage, Sterling compliments Honey, calling her special, even though the other contestants, all nearly identical, are glaring daggers at her. Honey doesn't feel special at all. Some of the losers wish her the worst out of jealousy, while others wish they could be her. She suddenly remembers what Bowl once told her, that being different isn't bad at all. In fact, it's the best way to shine. For the first time, Honey wants to embrace who she really is. Meanwhile, Rocco spots another boxer that looks exactly like him, except this one is trailed by a pack of furious little friends. Rocco grew up on his mother's natural milk. She did her best raising 15 puppies. He ends his little monologue with a powerful move that sends another boxer flying, making his owner grab him, thinking he's theirs. When Rocco enters the competition, he's handled more roughly than ever, but he manages to hold on until it's his turn in the cave. Furious, he starts barking, stirring chaos among the other dogs. Meanwhile, Chow's Honey tries to track down Ball, but he's already escaped with his friends. Feeling down about not seeing Han again, our protagonist decides to head home and face his inevitable fate. Just then Rocco reminds him that the night is still young. They overhear a couple of dogs talking about wanting to have fun, so they decide to hit a sketchy club. No need to explain the name. The pack convinces B to check out this shady spot, where action is practically guaranteed. The bouncer is an intersex Doberman named Frankie, who lets them in without issue, though Loki can't help but stare. Looks like someone's smitten. Meanwhile, Bowl and the others watch the dancers who rub themselves on shoes and even bathe in milk. One tiny dancer commands attention just with her voice. The most extreme part? A room where a bunch of dogs are getting pretty affectionate with each other. Bowl isn't in the mood, but Rocco urges him to check out a borsoi who looks a lot like Honey. Her name is Malaysia, and she quickly gets our furry protagonist wrapped up in her charms. Rocco fans the flames, explaining that Malaysia is like Honey, but even better. While B offers her a drink, Loki vents to Frankie about his fears. Frankie helps him accept himself, though not literally. Frankie proves he's one of a kind. B gets ready to return the favor to Malaysia, who takes him to a private room. She invites him to get close with a female in heat, new territory for him. Overwhelmed by the scent, he starts rambling about Honey and how amazing she is. Malaysia pretends to ask him to scratch her shoulders, a clever trap. Unfortunately, Johnny shows up at the worst possible moment, seeing him with another female who has no intention of letting him go.
Oh? Honey, this is not that!
What do you call it?
I don't know what to call it, but it isn't sad.
Bali tries to explain that he thought Honey was happy with Stalin, so he had no chance. Honey shoots back. Now it's clear he really doesn't have a shot. He swears things with Malaysia aren't what they seem. It's an incredibly sticky situation, but not as bad as it looks. If that wasn't enough, animal control bursts in, causing panic in the club. Loki is caught instantly while trying to get to Frankie. B jumps in to protect Honey, showing the officers she can handle herself. The rest of the dogs are captured and locked up in the city pound, the worst of the worst. Bielo catches the eye of a female dog who wants him desperately, while Rocco notices a dog with traits that remind him of his mother. In their cells, the dogs lament their fate, especially Fetch, who fears online humiliation. Loki embraces being a normal dog while Lucy just met the love of her life, getting the best of both worlds. B watches Honey, who carries a microchip alerting her owners to her location. It's only a matter of time before she returns to her normal life, leaving B stuck behind bars. At dawn, Johnny's owner arrives, excited to have set up a date. The protagonist knows they're planning to pair her with Sterling. The dogs quickly devise an escape plan, urinating on the guards' faces. When the guards pass out, Paul grabs the keys and hands them to FCH, instructing him to act human. FCH unlocks the cages for their friends and the other dogs, ignoring the cats. On the way to the park, Loki splits from the group, claiming he needs to find Frankie. After wandering the city, he reunites with the love of his life. Back in his neighborhood, the protagonist notices flyers on poles. His owners are looking for him. This surprises Ball because loving owners wouldn't normally neuter their pets. Not far away, John prepares for his own plans, while Juan Starl congratulates him for being a lucky dog. Everyone wants a piece of his DNA. Ball moves cautiously, trying to gain momentum, bouncing again and again without much result. Finally, Rocco serves as a trampoline, and Ball lands right in front of his beloved Honey. Then he started to slide to the place where the mission was to be carried out, but it happened in the opposite direction and Bull took the task instead. Ball apologizes to his neighbor for the earlier chaos, admitting he was too afraid to express his true feelings, to tell her that he's loved her since the first day they met and that he dreams of a future by her side. Once the commotion is over, Ball returns to his yard, relieved that at least he told Honey how he felt before losing his chance completely. Rocco and FCH congratulate him for being brave, though Ball notes he still has to clean up the mess from the earlier incident. After that, he rejoins his friends, bringing joy back to the house. Later that night, Honey wakes Ball and invites him to her playhouse to confess that she has felt the same way since she was a puppy. She has always admired him, greeting him every morning, sniffing his spots, and loving to watch him sleep so messily. Surprised, Ball insists he's just an ordinary dog, while she says that even perfection has its quirks and he is hers. Ball worries about losing his friends, though Honey reassures him that true value lies within. He tells her he wishes he had heard this sooner, which would have saved him a lot of trouble, but then he wouldn't be in the playhouse now. With that, the two share a special heartwarming night together. The next day, Ball heads to the veterinarian to be separated from his friends, receiving encouragement from them before leaving. He says a bittersweet goodbye to his dear friends Red Pepper and Napoleon. 3 months later, a neutered Ball meets his friends at the park as usual. He's gotten used to life without them, but what he hasn't gotten used to is being a father to 13 adorable puppies with Honey. Rocco, acting like the uncle, explains that some of the pups might not get enough milk because the family is so large, but that doesn't make them any less dogs.